Hello world, it's me, Dennis, and today on RSC LinkedIn Edition, I get to speak with Kelly Buckley. Hey, Kelly.
Hi, Dennis. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I've been looking over your website and your podcasts, and it's such an amazing experience to know that when we're talking about the world of beauty and all of us as human beings, but I keep looking at the difference between men and women and how we're judged. It's such different standards. It gives me a great deal of compassion for all of the business women that are out there that have to be able to not only to qualify externally, internally, but also externally. It's an extraordinary process.
Well, we appreciate that sentiment on behalf of all women.
And so when you have, Kelly, when you got into the beauty business, because you had a salon for more than 30 years, right?
Just about 30 years.
Just about 30 years that you had a
Yes.
salon. So you started in this journey on cosmetology and being able
Mhm.
to get people to look. When was that? When did it go into your consciousness to know, wait a minute, the beauty has to come from the inside in order to correlate with the outside? Was that a gradual process or part of what you were doing as you were growing as a human being?
I would say it was a gradual process uh, because a theme that I heard was when I would finish somebody's hair, a lot of times they would look in the mirror and say, it'll never look like this again. It looks good. Yeah. And the more I heard that, the more I realized, oh, they just don't feel good about themselves. So no matter what I do or they do, they're still going to feel like that. That's an inside job.
Exactly. Did you do that for yourself? Did you look inside yourself and say, wait a minute, I've got to work on my own confidence and work on how did you build that?
Um, I think that I also started to realize that kind of and also sort of evolved. I don't know that there was an exact turning point, but something made me realize I was also looking for um, external approval and compliments and
Exactly. That
yeah,
validation in order to get, yes, exactly.
yeah, yeah. Because I realized, oh, if somebody doesn't compliment me, do I look bad? Oh, did I check? What do I look like?
And then in the business community, now that we're seeing, because so many of us now have to be on media, we have to work on Zoom, we have to work on this place. And plus, we're also seeing that as women are getting over 40, as we're beginning to see this process, to be able to have that self-acceptance has to be such an enormous part of this, especially when there's such pressure on the outside to maintain an external focus, especially for women.
Exactly. And yes, with social media and Photoshop everywhere, it's such a, oh, I don't look like that. I don't even look like I used to anymore. The comparison is even between ourselves and other people. It's rampant.
Comparisons are such killers. So how do you deal with that? Because on what have you learned on your podcast as you're beginning to work? I mean, I know we both shared Kim Curtis. We got a chance to talk with her and what a brilliant, amazing gift she is on money matters and money
Yeah.
on how we take on the inside. But what have you learned over this course on this podcast from the amazing lights that you've been able to have on that on your work?
So that journey has been truly eye-opening and just amazing with the people I've met. Because what I'm learning and seeing through my journey is women specifically, but I do think all people. There's something in each of
Absolutely.
us that is the breakdown of confidence that we may need to grow. So that's how I'm picking my guests is it's so many different areas. And if we can pinpoint an area and develop that and grow that, all other areas in our life are going to flourish.
It's such confidence is such of the root of everything that I will do, because when I sit there and I will talk either with a new client in my media coaching, or whether or not I'm working with a guest, my own internal confidence will depend upon how much I'm willing to risk, how much I'm willing to take out, even to be able to take that step to make that email or to do that. And so working on it on the inside has to come first. Now, do you do a meditation practice? Do you do writing? What are some of the specific things, not only that you've learned, but that your guests are bringing into this so that we can know what directions that you're taking?
That's a great question, because I have found that that is for myself. Oops. For myself, that's where my daily routine is what builds my confidence, and I do start my day with journaling, affirmations, and I we're also use a Bible app. So I have found when I stick with that routine, I start my day feeling confident. If it happens that I don't have it, if I'm, sleepless night, my day just doesn't go the same.
So tell me about you as a business person going forward, because so many when you look at your work and with your LinkedIn, how do you use LinkedIn in order to create create and expand your business? Because you have worked both as in cosmetology, but you've also done work with Mary Kay. Did you do that work? I mean, what an extraordinary story she is, right? I mean, it's just an amazing. But you've done this as a business person and expanding. So how have you used it, and what are you doing right now?
So currently, I am a Mary Kay director, and I'm using LinkedIn to make the connections more outside of my own immediate area, because I that's actually what sparked my podcast, was that I could do this reach right here. And then I realized, oh my gosh, if this little area of mine has so many women that aren't feeling confident about themselves, how can I expand my reach to be able to bring this to women globally? And that was one of my ways of being able to do that, as well as it starting to incorporate a coaching program with helping women start to figure out where is that part that you need to elevate.
And because it's such an interesting, I love what you said about when you were doing your Bible app and all, because what I'm saying for me is that there is a power greater than I am. People can call it anything they want, but there's a power, and I'm saying, show me through your eyes, not through mine, because I tend to look at it. You know how you look at the wrong end of a telescope, and when you look in the big end, I see me as this little, and so I just want to be right sized. That's
Yeah.
not larger than, not just to be right sized, because if I'm right sized, then I'm communicating with you with compassion. And it's because it appears to me, or it's been my experience, that how I treat myself has a very good indicator how I'm going to treat you.
Exactly. Which is, also has a lot to do with that self-talk.
Ah,
Such negative self-talk. Would you talk to somebody else like that? Which is why those affirmations in the morning are so important.
and a little patient, just being able to continue to do it. I love that, because it's a that self-talk that I have, that negative self-talk that all of us have. And again, when we're talking about with social media and with so much of the impelling to compare, to be able to say how we are. I mean, it's just an awful. I can't imagine how it must be for women, because women have, you're just held to very different standards than we are. It's the old Ginger Rogers. Uh, theme that you have to do everything that Fred Astaire does, but backwards and in high heels.
That's about right.
So how do you recharge? So do you try and block out your day and then put in your physical self-care and meals and the work and then turn it off at the end of the day? How do you block that out?
Personally, I work with a weekly and a daily plan. And yes, I do block out meditation in the middle of the day. I block out time for a workout in the morning. I do work with a schedule. I was very resistant to working with a schedule for many years, and I have to say, my mentor and Mary Kay really encouraged that. And I don't know why it was sort of which I think is where women may not always look at things the same in their life. Because I wouldn't have even dreamed of not having a schedule in my salon. But then when it came to applying it to my personal life, I fell a little short. And then when I realized that was going to make me more successful, and start to put things in compartments, is when I started doing it.
And so in taking that schedule, and then how do you know when to turn it off at the end of the day in order to have it stop? That's one of the difficult things I have found is because working for ourselves, and so many of us are now self-scheduled, even if we're working with other people, that it's very hard to stop at the end of the day and to be able to say, okay, that's enough. I'm enough. I'm going to put that off and I'm going to end it. So how do you do that, Kelly?
I'm glad you mentioned that, Dennis, because it's something that I've been working on for the past couple years, especially after I sold my salon and I was working solely from home. So one of the biggest things I think also that helps women build their confidence is setting boundaries. So one
Oh,
of the boundaries I had to set was to just be very clear. These are my hours of communication. Just because I work at home and I work from my cell phone and my devices doesn't mean I'm always available. And I will put them on silent and put them down even to control myself.
how lovely. Now, how do you deal with when you have dropped the ball or you've made, because I find that, when I have so many emails, I'll just have forgotten to do this or I've not, or I have a project that I've not, and I can get really down on myself or I can have that self-judgment. How do you forgive yourself as you're going when you make a mistake or you do that? What's your process?
Yeah, so first there's a little beat up. And then a little pity party because I think women tend to have pity parties. And honestly, then just self-talk of everybody
Yep.
declines, everybody kind of falls back a little bit, and then it's time to move on.
Yeah.
It's not time to live in the past of what didn't go well, what didn't you do. Put it in your schedule. Actually, having that plan is something that helps. Okay, I didn't get to it. I would have liked to, but it's time to move it to tomorrow.
Kelly, one of the things that excited me about talking with you right now is because I feel that, like the Dalai Lama said, that the world is going to be saved by the Western woman. And I'm watching women rise up in leadership, and I am all in. I'm all in because I believe that the world once when the world was not as complex as it is now, when we could just go ahead and chop down, make that trail, blaze that trail, it worked so far. It was a zero sum. But now we're dealing with a world that is so deeply interconnected and so in need of collaboration, which is what I believe that women can teach and lead in because of the wonderful multitasking skills for the wonderful communication and collaboration that you bring. And that's one of the reasons why I feel we need to elevate and why I love being led by women. I love being able to have that as an opportunity. And we're seeing women stand up in as heads of countries, as heads of are you're seeing a real evolution of this. I mean, you've seen it just in your lifetime, and I'm 74. I've seen it even more when
Yeah.
men with my complexion and my gender were basically the only ones, or very, very limited at the senior levels. You're seeing that now because you're getting a chance to have all these powerful women on your podcast and connect with them.
Yes, that has honestly been one of, I think, humbling, amazing, elevating all at once. Because it was connecting with them did make me realize how small I was keeping my circle and my reach, and just realizing, oh gosh, there's a whole big world out there of women who are in need of figuring out what's their turning point, and what do they need to work on, and to, because we do, I'm not
Don't
saying
we
all women
just,
need to
all
work
of
on
us,
something.
but all, but that's the whole, that's the exciting part of it, is that if we can look on something, because I mean, I look at any athlete out there. I mean, you talk about Simone Biles or Serena, they are out there working on themselves, working on their game every day. How is it different from an executive who is working on her game every day? Working on ourselves is a normal part of growth and evolution at any time we want to get better at what we do, isn't it, Kelly?
I love that comparison, Dennis. Thank you.
It has, this is what makes us, this is what excites me about what we're doing today. So where are you taking both your podcasts? Who are the people that you have? How do you reach them? How do you reach out or decide this is someone that I want to have on my podcast? Or this, how do you do that from a producer standpoint?
So at this point, that is actually one of the ways LinkedIn is helping. I have joined a few different networking groups. Again, realizing, oh gosh, I need to have more relationship building, and just having my eyes open to all different things that people offer in general,
Yeah.
both men and women, to help build confidence in people in general. So it's just sort of a, oh, she does that. Oh, he offers that. um, so it's just opening so many doors to people that offer so many different things to help and support women in their growth, and finding those people.
Do you use intuition? Because I'm finding I'm really working on, like I go to the gym and I go to the gym and I want to work on that intuition, on that intuition machine, to be able to grow my emotional, because we as men were taught and had a link where we want to grow our intellect, really get in there and really delve into the intellect, when we realize, when we're coming to realize how much that's cutting us off from ourselves as an entire human being, and really cutting us off, because if I cannot connect with people on that emotional level, I'm going to really, I'm going to leave them behind. You got to inspire with your heart. So
Yeah.
so how this is an important part, where I think that women are really being able to lead here and be able to help to teach us to be able to lead with both the head and heart, to be able to have that intellect and drive that, but also to be able to bring the emotional intelligence into the picture. What's
Yes.
your
And
thoughts on that?
I do absolutely go with intuition, which I also think is why it's important to me to have, I focus on 3 times a day of quiet time. So if something comes to me, I write it down so that I act on it. So,
Right.
and part of that may be, do I keep seeing somebody post about something that's touching my heart? And, am I ignoring it, or am I reaching out to that person to say, hey, could you be a guest on my podcast? Can we do a one-on-one conversation? I would just like to get to know you, and reach out with my heart, and not just, okay, doing my job, moving on.
How lovely. And there is also, one of my prime directives is to elevate decency as a value. Because if we treat, I would love to see, you know, when we're talking about politicians or business leaders, how decently do you treat other people? Because if you're treating other people decently, I'm going to want to be around you. I'm going to want to spend time with you, because I think decency and how we treat one another is a huge is hugely important in our leaders. It's hugely important in the people we collaborate with, and it's hugely important to people with whom we hire. What are your thoughts on the value of that, Kelly?
I would agree 100%. It's one of the basis of Mary Kay, which is actually what led me to it. Is it's living by the golden rule.
Mm-hmm.
So, and which can also help us with leading with our heart. Is this how I would want to be treated? And if the answer is, ooh, no, not exactly, then switch it and figure out how you would want to be treated.
How wonderful. Well, Kelly, thank you. Thank you for giving me this time today to be able to know that what we're doing here is that we're expanding. We're getting a chance to grow. And that's the reason why I wanted to connect with you, because I saw a light there. I had that same intuition. I saw this is someone who is working on herself first. Because I know that, you know, we have that saying when we talk about the only way that you can help another is to put if you're
Yep.
put your oxygen mask on first.
Yes.
And that goes with the same way as that if I'm going to treat someone else kindly, I have to first be able to work to treat myself in the way that I want to treat you. Am I willing to treat me with the same amount of grace that I'm treating you? Because if not, if I'm treating you in a certain way, and then I go back and I'm being mean to myself, or I'm having that self-talk, that negative self-talk, then it's not only is it not going to be effective, but I'm being hypocritical, and I'm not, and that will just set up something inside of me that just ends up roiling and not being authentic, and that's what I want to be.
Exactly. Yes. And it is. That's kind of was one of the realizations for myself, was that I may not have been being as nice to myself, which is why I was looking for outward compliments. So
Yes.
yes, it's starting with ourselves.
And then when we're balanced, then we can move forward. We have all of our resources, we have all of our energies to go forward.
Yeah, exactly.
Kelly Buckley, thank you so much for the time today, and thank you for giving me an opportunity to meet with you. I look forward to connecting with you on LinkedIn, to be able to both of us offering the wonderful guests that we can for one another, and to know that we're both working on the same. We both have the same mission to lift up, to bring light to the world, to bring grace, and to be able to see and to empower everyone out there. And that delights me amazingly.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for asking me. I'm honored.
My pleasure. And thank you everyone on LinkedIn for seeing our LinkedIn edition. And we'll see everybody very soon on Reasonably Spontaneous Conversation LinkedIn edition.
This episode of Reasonably Spontaneous Conversations has been brought to you in part by In Search of the New Compassionate Male. For more information, go to newcompassionatemale.com.